Phillip, you finally returned back to co-host.
Yeah, how long's it been?
I started this back in 2022, 1?
Oh my God! So it's been about 3-4 years since we've done this.
Yeah, our last episode was on dreams, I believe.
I see.
It was like the third episode. Anyways, you don't really need an introduction. I'm sure everyone listening knows who you are, but if you want to talk about yourself, I'm giving you space.
No, it's okay.
No? Okay.
My name is Phillip.
Phillip Thurtle, former chair, current professor, and about to retire.
About to retire, yeah. It's like about, 9 more weeks now?
Yeah, that's insane. Well, I have a bunch of questions here from staff, but I just want to ask you, just straight off, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's a real bittersweet moment for me to retire. On one hand, I felt this with my class last quarter, especially because it was a real small, close class, and it just made me incredibly sad to realize that I'm not going to be able to do this as much as I used to do that, and to actually interact with students, because I learned from them so much. And not just facts and different things, but actually about learning about how to be in the world in certain ways and how to care for others. And so I'm definitely going to miss that.
We're going to touch upon some of that later.
Okay.
Because that's one of the questions. But, I understand what you mean. I feel like personally over the years, people who have actually left an impression on me have been the students.
Yeah. No, that's right.
But there's a lot I want to say on there, but that's for the second half. Because right now, the CHID staff wants to know some thoughts that you have.
Oh God.
So I have a few questions here.
Okay.
From Martha, Dina, Tony, Nick, and Cynthia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So first up, from Martha Dina. What is Phillip, that's you, looking forward to as Professor Emeritus? How are you feeling about your last quarter as a professor? You kind of answered that already, but please expand.
Yeah, no. This is a question that's on my mind a lot. The university, like most of us who spend a lot of time here, the university has been a large part of who I am. And so that part makes me sad, that part, it won't be so easily reinforced. But I think the retirement and becoming emeritus is really important, because it's an affirmation that we are always bigger than what we do.
Heck yeah.
We can always grow more. And so for me, I've even been calling this my graduation. It's kind of cool for me that it happens at the end of the quarter when everybody else is graduating. And for me, it's about then figuring out how I can become more of myself at that particular time.
Yeah.
And recover those aspects that I didn't necessarily have time to do, but then also double down. There's some parts of being a teacher and being a thinker where it turns out it's beginning to get easier to do outside of the academy, I think, than inside. So
I resonate that a lot, actually. I feel like I have sensed a renewed energy to you lately.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah, which is in contrary to our current graduates who are anxious.
Yes, I know, and with very good reason.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, it's been a rough quarter for me, in a sense, beginning because of the health issues associated with my retirement.
Totally.
Right. So I've been diagnosed with a degenerative lung disease, and that's been a wake-up call for me. But it's also that kind of the content of that wake-up call. It's like, hello, Phillip, this is the call. And what that has been is, this is what's important in your life. Right?
Totally.
And so much of that then is about, can I live up to this moment through the very challenge of trying to be who I want to be in this complicated and messy and dangerous world.
I want to talk to you more about that, but we have a bunch of questions here.
Okay.
But I'm keeping a pin on this.
So that's the big thing I'm looking forward to as being an emeritus. How do I deal with that?
You're gonna deal with it just fine, you forever teacher. So Tony has 3 questions for you.
Oh, he would.
Yeah, our chair is really on you right now. First off, what is the kid thesis project that most surprised you or that made you a particular impact on you?
This is an amazing question. And the other day I sat down to think about how many CHID senior thesis projects I've overseen in the last 26, 27 years.
Yeah.
And it's over 700.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's over 700. I think I've done the math right? Because it's often 7, 8 per quarter.
Yeah.
And so definitely over 500. And so many of those have changed and altered me.
Good.
I've found new ways of thinking about my research has come out of some of the senior thesis projects.
Yeah.
I have one of them was very early on. There was a senior thesis project about a student trying to think about the phenomenological difference about looking outside versus looking inside their body, like through a gaping wound or medical imagery or something, and the consequences of that. And that kind of set me off in an interesting way. I had another student who did some interesting work, a student I'm still in touch with too, who wrote about, it was our first senior thesis on psychedelics, actually, and the role of psychedelics in creative thought. Mm-hmm. And I've had interesting projects having to do with thinking about everyday items in new and interesting ways. The list is just so long. I mean, I think what's transformed me most and been humbling to me is how do I rise up to the occasion of every single student who comes to me. So thinking about 750 conversations with students.
Yeah.
And thinking about what makes each of those fresh at the time, at the moment.
Yeah.
Because that's where the love of teaching comes from.
God, we're going to miss you, Phillip.
Yeah, I'm going to miss me.
Well, Tony has 2 more questions here.
Oh, of course he would.
What do you think on that, actually, a little bit? What do you think STEM or hard science students can gain from a humanistic understanding of science and technology?
Yes. Oh, fantastic. This is something I've been really blessed in this institution about the contents I get to teach.
Yeah.
And one of the things I get to teach this class that is like part science. The students get natural world credit for it.
Yeah.
And it's part humanities and arts, right?
Totally.
And it's actually meant to be conceived of as a conversation where people listen to each other, but where we don't always agree.
Yeah.
And I think this type of dialogue about what science is and how we create meaning in the world needs to happen more often. And it can't happen in the sciences alone.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't have a lot of the tools and the traditions for thinking about the complexities of meaning making.
Totally.
And it can't happen in the humanities as a critique of science because too often there's not the understanding of the detail and the kind of epistemological and personal commitments even that scientists have to make. Mm-hmm. So for those students who are going to be making difficult decisions about lives that have large science and technological policy components.
Yeah.
They need to be trained in classes that have both components. And this doesn't mean an ethics class in science. And this doesn't mean a scientific analysis of evolutionary theory, for instance,
Sure.
and how it's used in literature. It means setting up deep conversations about how science and the humanities can not only help us understand ethical issues, but understand the values that drive these ethical concerns in the first place.
Totally. I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot currently since, I have a background in literature, as you know.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I think the more I grow up, the more I'm kind of glad that was my path. I'm also glad that I was practical in my college years and actually had work experience behind me.
Yeah.
Which is, something I tell students is like get work experience while you're in school.
Yes.
Yeah. But now, since I have like more of an incline to read on scientific analysis and just general social policy, I feel like my own, reading skills are coming in handy, not only in terms of knowing how to read all this complicated bull crap.
Yep. No, that's right.
But also just kind of how does it apply to myself? And one thing I've gathered is everything that's kind of normalized or structured in this world happened because probably one person had, a feeling, a belief, a moral, and really wanted that moral to stay in place.
Yeah. How much of our personal commitments and what we bring to those things in our everyday life, we tend to think about agency in terms of what can you do.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is in who you are.
What do you want to do?
What do you want to, well, and how can you be who you want to be?
We've talked about this.
Yeah.
So
for me, some of the most political, I'm always willing to state my opinions, but I think the most important political work I've done at the university is to provide a greater resource for students where they can come into an idea about who they think that they want to be.
And you've done that. I talk to students quite a bit. They're just like, Phillip, help me understand myself.
Yeah, which is good because I don't have a friggin' clue about me. But
that's your problem.
Yeah. And my students help me with that too.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, that goes into our last question from Tony. What is the thing about CHID that has brought you the most joy?
There's a number of things, but this gives me a chance to really make an emphasis, which I think is really important about CHID. CHID is at its best and doing what it needs to do when it focuses on the students.
Heck yeah, I've been saying that too.
Yeah. And so the part of the things that for me that have been so important for me about CHID has been it's been trying to think about how to create a dynamic, creative, kind of living community of thinkers who people are going to look back upon and saying, yeah, they'll say, oh, you graduated CHID? Yeah. And it goes, yeah, me too. And there will be an understanding there that there was a shared project.
Vulnerability.
It's a project of vulnerability, a project of trust. Yeah. And these things come when you try to think together. You have to have those.
Oof. Real talk.
Real talk. Real talk.
So we have 2 questions from Nick.
Good.
What are some of the surprising ways that your scholarship and teaching have had an impact on others, perhaps in your later years? Or years later is how he worded it.
Yeah, okay, years later. So that would be,
yeah.
It's interesting. So the teaching is fascinating to me because I've now taught so many students over the last 30 years. And I've been at the same institution for all these times. And so, which means there's a lot of my students around town. And so I run into my students quite often. And, or people reach out to me quite often. And I'm always stunned to hear about the recollections and what the things they take away from classes. And it's not you. There are some issues about lessons, but it's almost always about kind of a type of ability, a way to think, and a way to interact and work in the world. And so I think it's that type of like intellectual nimbleness. That's been really important, I think, for me. Because I immediately want to answer this by saying, it's been there's certain lines of scholarship that I have that have been adopted, and a couple of things I've written people talk about, but that's not the important stuff.
The off the hand stuff is the important
stuff. It's the off the hand stuff that's the important. It's the off the hand stuff. It's a way of thinking and engaging and actually realizing what an act of care, what an act of love it is to think with somebody else.
See, that kind of advice comes from someone who's been through pain.
Absolutely, man. I wear my heart on the sleeve. It is bleeding.
I feel that. Nick's second question. What's your ideal work environment? Example, music, coffee shops, vibes, etc.
Yeah. I'm a big coffee shop person. I like to have music and write, and when I read, I have to have silence. But I like coffee shops because I get bored of my house. And I actually do love my living room and writing there because I have a big, beautiful tree outside, and I get to notice who's visiting me in the tree. Like, it's springtime and the squirrels are mating. I think they're mating. They seem to be like they're either mating or they're grooming or they're fighting. I don't know. All those components of being in a relationship.
All at once.
All at once. And I see the different types of birds that come in. And so that my desk is great. But then I need to have people around me. I don't actually like people.
Sure.
I mean, I love students, but I don't like people. I love specific people, but I don't like the idea of people. I'm very antisocial.
Yeah.
And so when I'm in a coffee shop, it allows for people to be around me.
Yeah.
And then I can do my work. And so that's also a good environment for me.
So, I've been reading a lot of Ayn Rand.
Yeah, we've been talking about that. I'm still not sure how I feel about that.
Well, I'm not conservative for anyone wondering. I brought up Ayn Rand a few times in this podcast the last few weeks. But one thing that she says on romanticism, because you're a romantic, is that the true romantic is both individualistic and antisocial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as we talked about before, I much prefer a kind of a branch of the romantic. This is the Gothic.
Yeah.
And I like them for a particular type of reason, because the Romantics had too much hope and reconciliation.
Yeah. Sure.
They believed in the grand synthesis that could occur.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it's just really important to be able to hold things together. Right?
Totally.
To be able to hold the idea of what it means to be an individual in society, as well as being able to be hold together what it means to be a society of individuals together, without trying to synthesize a new type of presence. And so that's kind of where I am. It's just trying to hold complicated stuff together.
I think John Chamberlain would agree with you.
I don't know. Who's John Chamberlain?
A libertarian from the Greatest Generation era.
I see. Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been catching up on my U.S. history lately.
Yes, you are.
Because, well, the economy is going to the dumps, apparently. Now, I know nothing about this. It's not like I check the stock market every day. / I am just vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. I just want to incorporate myself into this talk a little bit.
Good. I'm glad you did.
All right. 2 questions from Cynthia.
Oh, okay.
What advice do you have for CHIT students during these uncertain times? Oh, relevant question.
Yeah. Anything I say will not be enough.
Totally.
And whatever I say might not be exactly what needs to happen, right? I mean, but for me, but it comes down to advice in general, for me.
Mm-hmm.
And advice, how I've always treated advice is something that you listen to but rarely follow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just kind of like, I learned this from my students. I mean, because they listen to me, but they rarely follow what I ask them to do.
Totally, yeah.
And so what I try to do then is I try to use that as an insight, not to tell them about specific things,
Yeah.
but to really get people to start thinking about, at this age that people are at, or at this stage in their life, going back to school.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Not what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Not what particular thing that you want to have happen.
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to live in the world that can make it, that makes it a world more creative and more equitable for you and those who follow?
I agree with you. Advice is overrated because everyone knows the answer if they just dig deep enough.
Yes, and it's going to be different for every person.
Yeah.
So I think there's a great political economic distinction, and it's a little bit worrying because it's game-like or war-like, and that's the difference between strategy and tactics, right?
Yeah.
Where strategy is the goal and the idea of the ultimate outcome,
Sure.
and the tactics are the things you do in order to achieve that goal. We too often, as a society,
Mm-hmm.
when we think politically and when we think academically, we only think about tactics and not about strategies.
Ooh.
Too many of my students will come to me and say, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a tactical question. What is it that you need to do? What is it you need to accomplish? And that's like putting the cart before the horse, because you haven't had your strategic question, which is, who do you want to be?
Yeah.
And the nice thing about having a sense of who you think you should be means your tactics can change.
Yes.
Because you have this larger goal that you're trying to fulfill. So there's you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Paying attention too much to the tactical and the particular is important, but it needs to happen under a different set of, not outcomes, because then you've already loaded the dice, but a different set of how you want certain types of potentials to open up for the world around you.
Hell yeah. I'm sorry. It's just a student came up to me recently. She was very discouraged about something. And she's like, I'm not sure if I could change the world nowadays. And I'm like, no, you could change the world, even if it's in a micro level.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to understand what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have so much to say on that. I'm going to refrain because...
We can pick that up in the second half.
Yeah. I mean, I keep on saying that, but you know what? This is a CHIT podcast. I'm the host. This is how we're going to structure this today.
This is how we roll.
Yeah, this is how we roll. Yeah, as a previous guest said recently to me in an email, the CHIT podcast is for the self-indulgent. In which I said, oh, thank you.
Yeah. I think society right now is for the self-indulgent.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Last question from Cynthia, and this is more of a prompt than anything. You have had such a great influence on the structure of the department throughout your years. As a grad student teaching in CHID, a focus group instructor, an academic advisor, a study abroad advisor, the director of our international programs, as faculty, and of course, the chair of the department twice. So, what are your hopes for the future of CHID?
This is a fantastic question. And first of all, shout out to Cynthia for recognizing all those different roles, because all those different roles have been important in crafting my relationship to the program itself, right? I'm not just the faculty, because I've been a staff member, a couple in here, and so I get a sense of what it was, at least at that term, to be a staff member. I was a lecturer before I was hired in permanent faculty, and so I get a sense of what that means too. And before I've been in chair, and I get a sense of what that means too. My wish, my desire for CHID is to be able to keep listening to the students, to figuring out what's important right now, to keep thinking about how we can help the students through their own views and actions, achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
And I hope we can still find a sense of a group identity, about a group shared project. Not that everybody's all working together at this whole thing, but, at least a shared sense of suffering.
Good.
About what it means to be a thinker. Mm-hmm. What it means to live a life that is of both thought and action. And what does it mean to act on that? What does it mean to hold yourself in the world that way? Is it writing a book? How can I help you write a book, student? Mm-hmm. Is it a graphic novel? Let's figure out how I can help that. Is it a play? Mm-hmm. As long as we can still be doing this, in my eyes, we'll still be CHID. If we become a set of routinized programs, a set of educational initiatives, we will always be behind the curve.
A lot of optimism there, Phillip. No, I appreciate it. We appreciate it. All the staff appreciates those words. A bit more pessimistic, given what's going on right now. But I mean, I like your hoping.
I don't think it's hope.
Okay.
I think it's just a way of being in the world. I'm not hopeful.
Okay, good.
But this is how I have to exist in the world.
Oof. Now it's time for me to talk.
Good.
So I've been talking, but it's Sophia time. This is Sophia and Phillip's podcast now. We're back in 2021. Where this is a takeover. We have like 20 different discussion topics for the next 25 to 30 minutes. I don't know why I'm so excited. It's just kind of a free talk, but I've enjoyed our free talks over the years.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've had amazing conversations together. It's been one of the joys of coming into the office.
Yeah, I have no questions for you. I just wanted to chat, but I think I mostly just want to reflect on our time together.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. So I started off this episode by acknowledging that you've kind of had this renewed sense of life for a lot of reasons, I'm sure. And the thing is, looking back, because I've been listening to skimming past podcast episodes for my own, intake, for my own knowledge. And I gotta say, I feel like we kind of switched personalities and energy at some point over the last few years.
Oh, really? Okay, huh.
I think part of that is you stopped being chair.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember how happy you were when you stepped down.
It was the worst job of my life. It was, well, it's second worst job. The first worst job was being a paper boy. The second worst job is being a chair. Third worst job is being an ice cream, and fourth worst job is, which is the best, is the professor.
Yeah. It's hilarious. I would love to talk about you being an ice cream man, but maybe you'll write a book about that when you're 70.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, you hear that, Tony? Worst job. Second worst job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm sure he'll be listening to this after it's published. But anyways, what I mean by that is, gosh, I feel like, I mean, it's kind of similar to like how, the students are entering, a society in a non-academic way for a lot of them, I kind of feel this way in terms of having, not necessarily a late 20s crisis, because I feel like, I've talked to Nick about this, but I feel like for a young person, I feel like I've done things pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually kind of surprised I'm only like 28. This is me revealing my age, y'all. But like, I'm just looking back at myself. I'm like, no, I've accomplished a lot. But I've also been beaten to a pulp. And I don't know, I think about a lot of what you have said over the years as a result. Particularly last year, I felt a connection with you in a very a spiritual way. Because you were going through some health problems.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I was recovering from surgery.
That's right. We were both dealing with issues around health and recovery.
And obviously, there's a great difference. Mine was, for facial feminization, and yours was just, from being older.
Yeah. body falling apart.
But I'm going to assume you've also had, you also did a lot of thinking during that time. You also had a lot of contemplation as to, like, who you are and what you've done to, come to that point in your life. At least that's what I did from being alone for like multiple months.
Yeah.
And I was really happy when you told me that you had a adequate support system. That made me feel great because I didn't.
I know. Yeah, I know. That was something I did not realize at the time.
Yeah.
What was going on with you? Yeah.
What's going on with a lot has been going on with me. Before we started hitting record, we briefly talked about the problems of current medicine and how it just tries to push us to conform in some sort of way.
Yep.
And as part of that for me is just being a trans person, a trans woman in particular, I've been on a lot of, a medication for that in particular, and some that, wasn't to my benefit in the long run, some that caused, major health problems, and some that, like, honestly changed this way, like, my whole attitude and personality, and as a result, it's just, I'm not even scared of the world, I just don't want to engage with the world. Yeah.
No, I'm the same way, and I think part of that is because of some of the mental health issues that I've had too, as well.
Yeah,
there's been some of the challenges of. Once you get beaten back a little bit, you become a little bit more protective.
Oh, totally.
You realize how much you realize the value of your love and care, and I think that's a really important realization. It's been for me, and to make sure that I can hold myself in a way where I can protect that.
Yeah.
And where then I can offer it when it's appropriate.
Now, I don't want to assume anything, but I feel like this renewed energy in you, after recovering, or maybe you're still recovering. I don't know.
So I hope I'm still gonna go a little bit better at least.
But like I feel like in some way maybe it was a positive. You had so much time to think, right? Because you realize that you've actually affected people's lives in a positive way.
Yeah, it has been a positive. It's been a huge positive. First of all, I came out being the chair and trying to set up a department during the pandemic,
Yeah.
I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it probably took a couple of years off my life.
It looked like it.
It was that difficult for me, I think.
Yeah.
And not necessarily the types of tasks I had to do, but just the existential weight of what was going on,
Yeah.
and how I could try to carry that. So letting go of some of that and seeing how Tony has so wonderfully been able to assume that mantle,
Yeah.
has just been uplifting for me, actually, to see that. And then the other thing too is letting go of the administrative side.
Mm-hmm.
Something I never liked.
Sure.
I never came here to be administrator. Has really reinvigorated the intellectual and kind of like, I don't know. There's a weird. It's almost intellectual sounds too removed. It's like we need a new word. It's like that combines sensation and intellect at the same time.
Interesting.
And it's just been like an immersion into a quality of senses and how to think about them.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Both a renewed commitment to some of the things that are important in my scholarship.
Yeah.
But it makes sense on a day-to-day level too. Like.
Yeah.
This morning, I actually took the time to notice clouds. Clouds, just clouds.
Yeah.
And we tend to think about them in generic terms, but each cloud is different. This one was really fluffy. The other one had like a halo where the sun was coming behind it. The other one was kind of dark and door and gray.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've noticed clouds.
So there's something you said to me recently that I don't think I needed to hear, but it was really nice to hear. And this was in reference of me going on a date with someone.
Oh yeah.
Which had a profound shock to me.
Yeah.
In which you said something. You said that verb. You're right. Sometimes you just gotta allow people to shock you.
Yeah.
And in a similar way, you kind of have to have everyday life. You gotta allow it to shock you too.
Yeah.
This is why I think people, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts with other folks, right? Particularly our last clip fellow, Kunsag.
Yeah.
She said something, because I was talking about my own religious beliefs, and how it has given me purpose, right? And I think a lot of that is just kind of conditioning your mind to think that the world is grander than maybe it actually is, right? And I feel like thinking like that has really, calmed me down over the years, in which every day I feel like something happens, or I'm like, oh, that was a nice thing that happened, even if it was an awful day.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that was a nice thing that happened. Like yesterday, for example, I had an adrenaline rush of anxiety. And one thing I've noticed about myself since after my surgeries is that my kind of thinking has changed when it comes to that. My thinking has changed, and I'm in this hyper anxious state. I used to fly, because it's fight or flight. Now I fight. Now I'm so determined to, kind of resolve things within my own terms. It's like my way of trying to take control, I think. But as a result, and as you know, and as the other people know, because I think I mentioned this, for Lent, I'm not eating added sugar, and having that adrenaline rush yesterday from this external event that happened, right? It did something to my body, and I felt it very profoundly. And everyone was, I think everyone who interacted with me yesterday was like, oh, Sophia's in the state today. And then I went to my yoga class and did amazingly, because I had, all this energy. And then I crashed at night and went to sleep, and I woke up awful. And to me, I feel like that was something that, God, yes, but myself, I needed to notice about who I am, where I'm at, how my body functions. And I think that's what, those moments you are describing of looking at clouds and stuff, I think that's what is actually really important. Is like it's telling you something about, you know, who you are and what you actually care about.
Yes, no, that's exactly right. And it comes back to our earlier discussion too about how we can protect our, you know, you and I have been through a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so how to both, what does it mean to protect oneself, right?
Yeah.
We tend to think about what that means only in like terms of excluding.
Yeah, yeah.
Do I just cut something off? And yeah, that's something that you can do, but it's actually protection comes from both. Let me back up a second.
Sure.
You know, I have a tattoo in my hand.
It's
right?
a beautiful tattoo.
A beautiful tattoo that I love, and it's of a snake holding a rose. And I got this after I stepped down as being chair.
Yep.
It was like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Now I'm graduating, I'm thinking about getting another tattoo, which is of a snake and a knife.
Love it.
And so what this, for me, is
Yeah.
a lesson about how to take care of myself.
Yeah.
I have the knife on one hand for when I need to cut things,
Yeah, yeah.
when I need to let go.
Yeah.
And I have the snake on the other hand for when I need to give flowers, for when I want to encourage something.
Yeah.
People tend to think about the knife is only taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
It's being able to go back and forth.
Heaven and hell.
It's been able. This is why I say I'm more goth, right? You
Yeah,
got to
yeah.
hold those together. You don't synthesize them, right? You go back and forth, and that's what gives you perspective on the world. That's what allows you to see the clouds. It allows you to see. It allows you to get outside, a little brief glimmer, a little brief moment to get outside of your worries and your cares.
Okay, since this is probably your last episode on here,
Yeah.
I want to reveal some things about myself that is very relevant to what you said. I mean, I'm usually open on here, but I feel like I'm more open with you in general. Letting go.
Letting go.
That concept is founded on certainty. And so, I mean, as like you, I'm like a heavy romantic. I am the quintessential romantic. I am the hopeless romantic. I'm really,
Yeah, I love it.
yeah. And maybe I've told you this, but you know, and I'm sure, and I'm like not sure, like 100% over in previous podcasts with people, I've like alluded to this person who has been in my life, who like, you know, kind of consume my mind, right? Well, I kind of want to talk about this because I want to hear how you respond, because I don't think I've talked to you about this. Mm-hmm. After my first surgery last year, I got into a brief relationship, 3 months. Not going to go into that one, but she ended it like a week before my second surgery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm okay with it now, but at the time I was like, oh, jeez.
At the time it seems especially cruel.
Yeah, especially cruel. But it like really motivated me because I really wanted to enter my second surgery with at least the perception that I had someone there, right?
Yeah.
So I reconnected with someone who I hadn't stopped thinking about for like 2 years. And I was so happy going into my second surgery. And I think, you know, on a practical level, I think that was a good idea. It's just like, you know, I went into my surgery in a great mood. That was needed. But you know, after all was said and done, because that legitimately meeting up with that person kind of felt like a chapter and bookend, right? Like, oh my God, I did something that, you know, I have been wanting to do for so long. But then, you know, you wake up from surgery and start recovering, and life still continues.
It does.
And then a new chapter, a new book, a new genre opens up, and that genre is horror comedy. And you realize, oh, okay, yeah, things just don't happily, you know, come together, you know, like that, you know, there is no happy ending until you die.
Absolutely. But even then.
Yeah.
Even then, dying itself, I mean.
Yeah.
The Heidegger is saying we don't experience our own dying. Yeah. All we experience is our anxiety towards death. And there's this idea too here that
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't be. I mean, the whole idea of the happy ending and
Yeah.
how focused we are and how important that is.
Yeah.
It's kind of remarkable to me because it's a focus. Then it's a focus that kind of keeps us from allowing endings to happen.
Okay, so what you just said.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's a focus that maybe does allow endings to happen to some degree. Because, I mean, I think on that point, I feel like the reason why I reached out to this person was because, there was a possibility of the surgery going wrong, right? Which is like, after my first surgery, after, getting sleep paralysis because I couldn't breathe from my nose for a week, right? That makes you feel fragile as a human. But, the thing about what you just said is when I initially kicked this person out of my life the first time, it was an uncertain kick out, There was like a little book open, right? like I wrote a long email, but it wasn't as strong as it could be, right? Because I went for a lot of reasons. But after a few months with this person again, and them not treating me like I wanted to be treated, I kind of slapped the book closed as hard as I could and burned it. I sent them a text message that ended with. Well, they had a photo of us on their Instagram profile, and I told them to remove it. It was like kind of directive that then we are not friends. You don't deserve me. Have a good life. And then I blocked them on social media. It was really hard for me to do, and I cried for like a whole week after doing that. But
and you think that, and this is for you an important example of what it means to let go.
Yes, because I know for a fact that I probably hurt this person by doing that. I know for a fact that it probably, and this was like a day after their boyfriend broke up with him too, because I really wanted to rub salt in the wound.
So it was a little bit more than just letting go. Just a little bit of retribution.
A little bit of revenge, but the point still stands, right? All I'm saying is if someone did that to me, I don't think I could ever, forgive that person, or it'll take fucking decades, right?
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know, is it an actual bookend? Well, I don't know because I'm still alive.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Will you forgive me after I die?
Yes. Good. I don't hold anything against you.
Because this is about letting go, right?
Yeah.
And particularly, one of the things I've noticed about getting older is so much of it now is about letting go. Mm-hmm. And it's that's been kind of a theme for me to structure my relationships.
Sure.
A lot of my relationships with my daughter now are about letting go.
Yeah.
Allowing her to figure out the world. And it's like, she didn't need me for that anymore. A lot of my relationships with my students now are about letting go.
Yeah.
And thinking about how letting go can be a part of my teaching strategy. But it's also my relationship to myself.
This is why I've been talking about individualism and being great and reading all these, libertarian women is because of what you just said right now. Yeah. It really helped me come into my own, even if, a lot of these people that I've been reading, I don't agree with their perspectives. But, I think, especially, going back to Cynthia's question on, advice for students in these hard times, let it go is a big one, especially in times where everyone's so divided on things.
It becomes a point, at a certain point, we have to be thinking about what's important for us to let go.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, gosh. This is one of the reasons why I think me and my mom have gotten so close with each other lately. So as you know, my nephew who's young, very young, came to visit me with my mother recently. And it was a very, strong moment for me. I was just like immediately I fell in love with him. I looked at him, I was like, oh my gosh, you came from my sister. You know?
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
That like I just took a drug just by looking at this child. And thankfully, you know, he was really fond of me. It only took a few hours before like he was just comfortable and saw me as like, you know, a family member, and was like hugging me and stuff. Was letting me hold his hand. I was so happy. But the thing about that is, you know, one of the reasons why me and my mother's relationship has improved over the years is because of, you know, a similar moment she had with this child as well. I think that's, you know, just at some point, because she takes care of him quite often. At some point, something happened, and I noticed a shift in my mother. And I noticed that, like, maybe some connection with, you know, my nephew just kind of unlocked something in her, in which she was kind of, you know, and she told me, she was like, I just want to be better, you know, and I mean, I think, you know, people find those moments anywhere, or not anywhere, but, you know, in different scenarios. I know I have, you know, whether that's just looking at someone or talking to someone or seeing the potential of what I can be, right? And it comes down to, I don't know, it's really basic, but we live in a society. We live in a society where we want to escape ourselves all the time.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's the foundation of a book that I like, called Dopamine Nation, which is one of the reasons why I'm not eating added sugar until Easter. But it's just like, you know, everything we do that has to do with consumption, or overconsumption, whatever, you know, it is to, you know, exit a very sound state of consciousness. You know, and I think, you know, honestly, I think most people are not conscious most of the time. That's a harsh thing to say, maybe, but like, I don't know. Maybe it's just my loner attitude, my antisocialness, like you. But like, just you know, like I like being around people. Don't get me wrong. I don't necessarily like talking to people.
Yeah.
My ideal, you seen that. My ideal workplace is like at the gym, right? Like I have a bouldering project membership in Seattle, and they have like a co-working space. Ideal for me. I do not wish to talk to a lot of these people. Yeah, but I don't know, but being around people does tell me about how other people are, which I think is also of importance, which is, you know, one of the reasons why I have cherished my time in Chid, like you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this is really interesting for me, and so first of all, I just want to kind of emphasize how this plays into some of our early discussions about the importance of letting go.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you brought home there as how this notion of consumption could be a way of forgetting.
Yeah.
Whereas letting go can actually be a way of remembering. Which is, we tend to not look at it that way. And then the other thing that's really kind of amazing to me, and this is something that my recent research is kind of focused around, so this is one of those moments where my research is driven by my fascination with this, is we have this sense of time that's often kind of reinforced by our schedules and our calendars and the way we break up our day.
Yeah.
And it's so different than paying attention to those moments.
Yeah.
Like what you were talking about with your mother.
Yeah.
Like when you all of a sudden, there's an amazing moment there about you and your mother connecting in a way that's new.
Totally.
And the tools for understanding that, for me, come not through psychology.
Yes.
Come not through scientific understandings of the self.
Yeah.
It comes through horror and fantasy.
Okay.
This is where these special moments, these are religious moments.
Yes.
This is, for me, this is my religion. These special moments in these special places in the world.
Yeah.
The modernism makes everything the same. It's all one grid, written on grids.
Yeah.
And for me now, it's about finding those moments, those pearl-like moments in the world, or those spaces where people keep returning back to because it's calling them. These are invitations to a bigger sense of ourselves and a greater sense of importance about how we can connect with the world.
So, potential hot take.
Yep.
These moments are really easy to find.
Absolutely. They're all around. They're in clouds for Jiminy's sake.
But I think, I think because we both watched the movie Conclave, right?
Yes.
Well,
I love that.
Yeah, I loved it too. But like, the way you come to these moments is by suppressing yourself of pleasure for quite a bit, right? Yeah. Or forced on pleasure. For me, it was my surgeries. Another significant reason why I decided to reach out to that person is I found an album that I really connected with. And one of the songs in that album is I've mentioned this band before, also in the previous episode. Kara's Walk Home's "Look a Rainbow," their second album. The fifth track on there, Reintroduction Letter.
I see.
Where the first line is, "In 1,000 years or maybe more, I could be a stranger to you again."
That's nice, yeah.
And it like hit me like a brick when I first listened to it, because it was like right after my girlfriend broke up with me.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh my gosh, I was meant to find this song. I was meant to find this album. I was meant to find this album art because this album art character looks like me.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to be logical and be like, oh, this is all a coincidence. Of course, emo bands would have a red and black color scheme, and with their characters. That's just kind of like a generic representation of the hopeless romantic at that point in terms of color scheme. But to me, I'm like, no, this is greater than this. Yes. This was the world talking to me. But like, the more I continue thinking like that over the past years, the more I'm just like, oh, the world is constantly just talking to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes you, and at some point, right?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if all the rest of the talking we're doing, we just do it to not listen to the world.
I read that somewhere recently. Where did I read that? Oh no, I saw it. I'm very hopeful for Gen Z. Is where I'm getting at right now. Because where I heard that was from a 25-year-old on YouTube.
Oh really? That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, in that video, I forgot what his name is. He's like a financial advisor, but he's comparing Gen Z to the greatest and silent generation, and how in terms of similarities, we both came from eras where unemployment was so rapid and just upward mobility was just not a thing we talk about, and how financial nihilism actually kind of consumed us as a generation. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but if you have anything to add on anything I just said.
Yeah, well, I want to come back a little bit too. So there's different ways, and this calls for. Yeah. I mean, we have these ways of understanding this type of knowledge, and we tend to not think about them in very dynamic ways. Those, and you've identified one of them, and this is something you and I've talked about too, with the importance of religion for you.
Yeah.
This is a religious type of thinking, in a sense, right?
Totally.
Is to understand that not everything's the same. No. And some things are holy. Some things can be. There can be an angel and there can be a demon. And we have myth.
Yeah.
Myth are very good ways of talking about these things.
Yeah.
And then we have poetics and art. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I think part of the intellectual project is, how can I take something that seems to be the archetypal type of modernist thought, like scientific ideas about the body, and turn it back into a living myth. Turn it back into a breathing feeling of lore that's important of religious and highly intense experiences in different places of the body and how it goes through the world. If we can do this, I think we can start recovering a sense of not what meanings are of the body, but the importance of meaning making.
Okay, I have something to say on this. One thing that has really influenced me, and that someone said to me was a friend of mine, a colleague, an acquaintance, either of them. We had coffee back in December, and it was before we're almost done here. We've been talking for a bit, but it was before I did like such a drastic thing that I think I've told you about already. But she said something that really connected with me, and she's like, I've really done a lot of things that a lot of people would consider embarrassing. Particularly towards my love life and interests, is what she said. But I think you're supposed to die on the thrones of love in such an embarrassing manner. I think that's good for you. And I totally agree.
Yeah, I do too.
I've done a lot of things in which people have told me, wow, if I was in your position, I would just die because I don't know how I could, live after that. Being so, open and vulnerable in front of, 20, 30, 40, in my case, people, right? And I'm just like, I think you should do it. Because, you don't know what might happen afterwards. Because what I've gathered is people actually kind of like that kind of, embarrassment. Or at least what happens is, your crowd gets divided, right?
Yeah.
Some people are like, oh my gosh, that was something that I really resonated with. Thank you. And other people are like, who's this loser right here? But yeah, I mean, that kind of has to go with your meaning making, right? I turned into a god in that moment, I think.
There are moments when we definitely become more than what we thought we could be.
Yeah.
And those are moments that often come about through very increased notions of exposure, very big demands on our lives at certain times.
Yeah.
And this is actually kind of, for me, been maybe the major lesson for me about being able to teach in CHID.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most important things we can do with each other is to think with each other, is to share our ideas, is to discuss. This gives me hope. Right?
Yeah.
Not reifying certain themes or certain types of messages, but you and I sitting down together and sharing ideas and perspective in order to create something that's not quite you and not quite me.
Yeah.
This is at the heart of what education should be for me. And so this is what I'm really thankful that CHID has given me, is the opportunity to be able to do that with people for the last 30 years.
Well, thank you for your words, Lord Thurtle. I particularly like how you write into conversations whenever we talk, because obviously I like to indulge in myself quite a bit. So I respect that from you. A lot of people don't do that with me, but you do. So we've been talking for over an hour. Do you have any last words?
No, I think I just gave it. I mean, it's maybe my last words is to thank everybody who I've been with, who I've had the opportunity to think with, and to share ideas with, and to share dreams and hopes and fears with, as an educator and as an intellectual and a creative in Seattle.
Yeah.
I thank you. I would not be here without you.
And we, as CHID as a whole, I'm talking on their behalf. Thank you as well.
Yep.
All right. Have a good retirement, Phillip.
Yeah.
Party up.
I love you, my friend. Take care of yourself.
Love you too.